Hello, my name is Hunter Mitchell, and I am an advocate for the environment. I'm a student at Dixie State University, and I've been taking classes that have been helping me become more aware about global and local issues. And one that's really stuck out to me is global warming, climate change, the carbon emissions that I've been producing, and how big of an impact it has. And so I have decided that I want to be an advocate. Um, I realize that our globe can't speak. I've never heard it speak other than nature, and it's my job to speak for it. I want to raise my voice because the globe can't. And that is why I've decided to do a presentation on the carbon footprint. And I hope that all are listening will heed my action. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their mind cannot change anything. It's scary to me how so many people are arguing over this issue instead of doing something. I don't think they realize that this is such a time sensitive issue. Within the next 50 years, we may not have any more trees in the forests. We may not have any oxygen to breathe, and plants and animals will be dying if we don't do anything now. The carbon footprint is defined by climatologists and scientists as the amount of carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases emitted into the atmosphere by an individual or an entity, which is a company, a country, a group, whatever it is. According to the IEA, the International Energy Agency, last year we have produced 33 gigatons of CO2. That's 13 gigatons more than we were emitting last decade. To put into perspective, that means last year we've produced 13 gigatons more than the last 10 years combined, which if that trend follows, we're in for a big treat in about 10 years. We are thankfully slowing down a little bit as it is becoming more aware. People are becoming more aware. But with that statistic, that means about 4.75 tons of carbon being emitted by an individual, every individual in the world, which is a scary thought. Stakeholders, every single human being, every single plant, every single animal, adding up to trillions and trillions and trillions of species and of individuals, are at risk. Trees are being burnt. Animals are having to run away from their environments because they're being destroyed. And we are the ones creating the issue. Big businesses and major corporations that we support are polluting the air. We are paying them to destroy the environment. Our political leaders are, we're their constituents and we have a voice, so we need to speak to them about making policies and the environment. The science behind the issue is that the atmosphere is created out of certain gases: carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, H2O, water vapors. And what's happening is those vapors are supposed to keep heat in, to keep our globe at a certain temperature. But what we're doing is we're putting more of those chemicals into the air, which is increasing the insulation in our atmosphere. It's becoming thicker, per se, like a bigger blanket. And our globe is warming up too much. And not only that, the trees are what generally eat up the carbon dioxide. We're cutting those down. We've cut down about 65% of the trees in the last 100 years. And that is a scary number because if we don't have the trees eating the carbon, then nothing will. And that's just going to lead to a greater problem. Dangers that it presents is that with heat comes ice melting in the poles, in the Antarctic and Arctic. Those ice cubes down there really help cool down the ocean, which helps animals, and is with them melting, it will cause them to migrate. Forest fires have had more fuel as dead trees or dry plants, and storms have been getting bigger because the hot and cold air changes and creates rainstorms, creates hurricanes, and it's been damaging the coastal places all around the globe. So who knows about it? This fact is really scary to me, that only 33% of people in the United States acknowledge there's an issue about global warming. And that's a scary number because I was part of that 33% last year. And I don't want to be that 33%. I want to be the 66%. Nearly 100 million people in the United States don't even acknowledge that carbon emissions is an issue. And with that number, it's no wonder that we are arguing about it. So carbon emissions going through time, in the last 146 years, since 1870, China has gone up 14,497%. America, 1,538. That means that we're giving off about China 12,700 tons per person, and we about 6,000. So that's too much. We're the biggest cause. That image is gathered from the Resource Institute. So what can we do? There are countless things that can be done. We can either turn off our lights when we're not using them. When we head out of town, turn off the heater. When we are washing our clothes, choose the little button that says cold water. When we're driving, we should be cautious about where we're going and if we could walk there or if we could bike there or if there's another way to get there that would help put less pollution into the air, or to buy products that are made of recycled material. On a longer term, we need to start looking for renewable energy. We need to be able to have electric cars, and we need to be able to have houses that are ran on solar power, because our cars are about 33% of 27% of the emissions in the United States. So that means out of the 27% of transportation emissions, we are 33%. So that means we're making up a big portion just driving around. So what I've decided to do is to write a letter to our congressman here in Utah, Ben McAdams. He's the Democratic congressman for Utah, and his job is to help with the environment. And so I did a little research, found out who I needed to email, and emailed him about how I believe that we need to be very cautious about how quickly we transition from coal power to electric power, because if we do it too quickly, we may offset the production of clean energy. Solar panels and hydro will actually increase the emissions. So we just need to go slow enough that we aren't creating more, but that we're creating less. And so what I want you to do, I want to invite every single one of you to think about a big business that you've used in the last 10 days. I have a Google phone. I use Google in the last 10 days, and write them a letter. Write them a letter that says you're done with emissions, that you don't want them to keep polluting the air because you don't want to be a part of this crisis. And if you do that, I know that there will be change. Our voices are the only things that will be heard. The globe doesn't have one. And here is my works cited.